Today, I'm putting the brakes on this project. Well, no wait, not those brakes. These brakes here, right here. Stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to try to mount this power brake master cylinder and booster onto the 57 here. And behind me is a 1957 GMC 100 pickup truck I'm working on for my sister-in-law. Basically doing a full restoration on this thing, at least that's what it's turned into now at this point. Brake-wise, what we decided to do was go with the Performance Online setup. Now this truck is being mounted on a 1977 C10 frame. This frame was a long bed frame that I did shorten down, and you can find these videos in my playlist. And this cab is mounted on the Easy Chassis Swap bracket kit. So originally when I bought the Easy Chassis Swap bracket kit, the kit came with this plate right here that mounts the master cylinder, basically any GM style power brake booster and master cylinder. And this panel here would originally get mounted to the firewall like this, but on the inside. I believe it was supposed to mount on the inside. Now they do not, from what I understand, they do not use this plate anymore. If you order a new kit, it does not come with this. In the instructions, they give you the option of buying the Performance Online setup, which is the entire bracket assembly and everything that goes underneath the dash. So there's a little bit of work I got to do to the cab to get all that to fit, and that's what I want to do today, is just get it mocked up, because it also holds the steering column as well. Now I want to get the steering column figured out in the cab of this thing and figure out as far as how far in and out it needs to be in relation to the seat. So there's a lot of little adjustments. I basically want to see where I'm at with it, because I have no idea. I have a later model GM steering column that I'm putting in this thing, like a 70s, or no, I'm sorry, like a mid-late 80s steering column that I'm putting in. So I just kind of need to know how all of that is going to mount. And then I did replace the firewall on this truck. Obviously I have to drill all new holes for everything, and I just basically want to see where I'm at, figure out any other major modifications that I need to make. All right, so I got the POL kit here. I did open it and kind of go through it a little bit, but I really didn't do too much. Now, the kit comes complete with the proportioning valve and all the bracketry and everything needed. It comes with really nice parts. Everything looks really good on these things. Now, the proportioning valve that we got with this kit was for a two-wheel disc brake. We are going to just retain the drum brakes on the rear of this truck at this point anyway. Instructions are in here. I'm assuming some kind of firewall plate. We'll get into that in a minute. Now, this is the booster and master cylinder. Stuff all looks pretty good, really. And then this is the bracket that I have to mount underneath the dash. So the original steering column bracket and everything needs to be removed so I can mount this, and that's my goal today. And this comes with the brake pedal. Kind of a cool looking retro pedal. And it obviously does convert it to a swing style. Pretty nice. Looks like it's welded up really nice. It's pretty good size material here, thickness wise, and it's all powder coated, obviously. All right, so one thing I got to do also is, since I changed the firewall on this truck, is I need to re-drill the original hood holes that went here. I did make a jig so I can put the holes back in the exact same position, but I do need to drill those out. All right, now underneath the dash here is this original bracketry here, and this bracket has to come out. So I don't know what's entailed here, what I'm going to run into. I'm assuming it's tack welded here to the underside of the dash, so I'll look at that. All right, so what I did when I cut this firewall out, before I cut the original firewall out of this thing, I made this bracket here that mimics the holes on each side of the firewall. So now I just got to place this in. I just got to take a couple measurements from here to here and over on the other side as well. And then now I've got a jig, and this is exactly where the hood hinges were before I took the old firewall out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. All right. I've got a set of transfer punches here. All right, I got all my holes drilled back in the firewall for the hood hinges. When you drill the main hole for the booster here, you have to reference the hood holes, the hood hinge holes. So that's why I had to put those back in there. So here's a look at the instructions in case you ever lose yours. You can just pause it and zoom in on it. So it looks like what I got to do is, it looks like there's a tack weld up here on this top part, and then there's probably a couple on this up here. I can see one right here at the end, and then I'm sure there's a couple more in here. Yeah, I can feel one right there. So yeah, so I just got to knock this one out, drill this one out, and then figure out how many are on these upper brackets on both sides. This side's completely loose. I got to drill that front one, and then this side's partially loose. I got to drill that other front one as well. All right, I got it. They had that thing spot welded in there pretty darn good. Rightfully so, being a steering column bracket, so don't need that anymore. I'm just gonna kind of set this bracket in place here, just out of curiosity more than anything. So it looks like it bolts up where it did originally, of course. All right, so the directions tell you from the center line of these holes for the hood hinges over. It needs to be 8.5 inches, and then it needs to be 7 inches down from the firewall seam up here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw a line straight down here, and then I'll measure over and we'll figure all that out. Mark that. All right, so I just got a reference point here and a reference point here. That way I know I'm square with this line. Now I'll just go off of the seam here, and I'll go down 7 inches. So I'll match these two up here. That way I know I'm straight. And then from the seam, I'm gonna go down 7 inches. Of course, this thing's a little rusty. Okay, so that should be my center point right there. So it's 8.5 inches over from the center holes of the hood hinge, and then it's 7 inches down from the seam. All right, so from the seam there, I'm 7 inches, and then I'm 8.5. So I'm right on the money. All right, I think I'm ready. Make some ugliness here. I hate hole saws, but so I'm gonna try to take it real easy here. Ta-da! That's not too ugly. All right, the next step is you got to take this spacer plate here, and then it says just to line it up in the hole and get it all leveled out and centered in the hole here, and then mark out your 4 holes out to 3/8. All right, so I got the original steering column bracket, drop bracket. I'm just going to go ahead and put this in there for now. Of course, trying to juggle all this mess is going to be a headache. All right, that should basically just kind of hold it in place. We're going to have to just clamp this thing real quick, because I have to be able to hold the thing up in position close enough to where I can get the booster pushed through the firewall. All right, now with the spacer, so this is the stock firewall that I cut out when I did the firewall. Just ignore these holes. So this spacer, they have it stepped right here, and it goes on this way, and they say you have to trim this a little bit to go around it, to around this rib here. But of course I don't have to worry about that. So now with the spacer I have a little dilemma here. I'm not sure which way to mount it, if I should just put it on there flat like that, have this contacting the firewall, or if I should go like that and have it that way, and this flat up against the firewall, or should I just not use it at all? But I think the way it's set up on the inside, it wants this spacer. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it on like this and try it as mock-up just to see how it's gonna fit. So I'll do that. Just gonna try to reach in there and hold the inner bracket in place. I can just get my fat arm up in that steering column hole there. Okay. So now it's got the proper spacer in there. I don't know if it's 100% necessary though with a smooth firewall, so, but anyway, I'm just gonna mount it like that for now. All right, now I can put the rest of these nuts on real quick. All right, I got it in there. I just went ahead and I changed these 2 bolts out for something a little shorter just so I could snug it all up. and get it tied to the dash. Looks pretty good. It's a nice piece. I like the brake pedal. That's gonna look really good on here. I like that look. I don't even know if I'm gonna be using this or not because I don't think the GM column's gonna clamp to that anyway. I think this is too small, so I'll have to replace that anyway. Now, one thing I was worried about with this thing when doing this firewall is this firewall actually is a little bit thinner material than the original. So I was a little worried about this thing being stable because obviously you don't want the thing pushing in and out as you hit the brakes. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but it's definitely solid. It feels really solid, so that definitely relieved some of my concern there. I don't think I'm going to have any issues with that at all as far as firewall flex or anything. Worst case scenario, if that does happen, this is a pretty thick piece of steel. I could put this behind there on the inside of the firewall if I need to, but I don't think I'm going to have to. All right, guys, well, there you go. There's a quick video on the install of the Performance Online master cylinder and booster assembly and brake pedal assembly install on the 57 GMC here. Not too complicated of a job. The worst part is just getting everything, all the old stuff out of your way, drilling out the spot welds of the old bracket and whatnot, but not too big of a deal. Of course, if your truck is complete, you know, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for you. Of course, this thing's completely stripped, obviously, so it makes it a little easier, but yeah, it looks pretty good. I like it. I like the way it looks, and it feels good. Everything feels nice and solid. Bracketry all looks really good. Brake pedal looks good. And you can change out the brake pedal, too, for different styles and whatnot, but that'll make the truck really, really nice. So just having power brakes and whatnot. So anyway, well, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more on the 57 GMC. Have a great day.